Day 63 of tracking my sleep, 8.5 hours, 5th night running, and I woke up feeling like I barely slept at all. That's the bit that actually threw me. Not the tiredness, the fact that the hours were right. Same as the night before, same as the night before that. All logged, all good numbers. And somehow this one felt completely different. 295 nights logged in 2025. One person properly tracked against what I ate, when I fasted, where I was in the week. What made that one night different wasn't the amount of sleep at all. It was something I hadn't thought to track. The night in question, 1 in the morning to 9:30. 8.5 hours on paper, foggy all day, regardless. What was actually different about that specific window compared to the nights either side of it? Why the same total hours produce completely different outcomes depending on when they happen, and what I changed about my own bedtime once I understood it. Let's start with day 63. 1 in the morning to 9:30. That's the window, 8.5 hours, textbook length, and I spent the whole day walking around in a fog like I'd pulled an all-nighter. I went back through the log looking for what was different. Not the hours, those were fine. Better than fine. It was the clock. Every other good duration night that month, I'd been asleep by 11, out the door by 7:30. This one, I'd been up finishing something, lost track of time, and by the time I actually got into bed, it was gone midnight. There's a bit of biology here that I'd completely missed. There's a cluster of about 20,000 neurons sitting behind your eyes. The suprachiasmatic nucleus, SCN for short, and it's the master clock. It doesn't just run sleep, runs metabolism, hormone release, energy, digestion, the lot, all on a 24-hour cycle. Dr. Michael Bruce, sleep specialist, been doing this for years. Put it simply, that clock controls dozens of subclocks underneath it. Everything downstream takes its timing from that one signal. Think of it like a conductor at the Proms. Professor Russell Foster at Oxford, one of the actual leading circadian scientists, uses that exact image. 20,000 neurons producing a rhythmic signal, and every organ in your body is an instrument taking its cue from that beat. Liver, heart, gut, muscle, all playing along to the same conductor. Now shift the conductor's timing, shift work, jet lag, staying up, finishing something and going to bed 2 hours later than usual. The conductor's still there, still keeping a beat, but the orchestra's playing out of time with it. Not catastrophically, you don't collapse, but wrong enough that nothing quite lands the way it should. That's the fog. That, for me, was day 63. This isn't just about people who've already got a diagnosis stacked against them. This is a mechanism that runs whether you've ever seen a GP about your sleep or not. If you've ever felt off, despite hitting your hours, this is very possibly why. Here's where it gets specific, because the clock doesn't run one process. It runs a rotor. There's a researcher, Jason Fung, talks about this a fair bit too. But the clearest way I've heard it put is, your body's a factory with shift workers, liver, waste processing, clocks in around 2 in the morning. Growth hormone, the repair crew, works roughly 11 till 3. Cortisol, your morning alarm, rings about 6. Melatonin, night security, locks the doors around 10. Every worker's got a schedule. Screens at midnight, a late night finishing email, sleeping at random times. That's asking the night shift to clock on while the day shift's still on the floor. Machinery colliding, orders getting mixed up. The factory's not on fire, it's just not running properly. Consistent bedtime, and all the shifts run the way they're meant to. Common misconception here, and I had this one for myself for years, is that 8 hours is a single fixed unit you either hit or miss. Turns out it isn't. 8 hours from 10 till 6 and 8 hours from 1 till 9:30 are not biologically the same 8 hours. Identical quantity, completely different result. That's what this analogy gets at too. It's the investment timing thing. It doesn't matter how much you put in. If you put it in at the wrong moment, sleep works the same way. I wanted to test whether timing was actually doing something that duration couldn't explain. Not theory. I had 295 nights logged across the year, so I went back and pulled every night with roughly the same duration and checked what changed when the clock's time shifted. Day 63, 13th of December, 5th night running of what I'd have called good sleep by any tracker standard, 8.5 hours, 1 till 9:30. Woke up foggy, properly foggy, the kind where you're not trusting your own judgment by mid-morning. That was the moment the data actually meant something to me, rather than just being numbers in a spreadsheet. I tried something a few weeks earlier, day 13 if memory serves, 15 minutes outside in the morning, no sunglasses, on the theory that morning light helps set the clock. Didn't work that particular day. If I'm honest, still felt rough, but I kept the habit going anyway, because one day proves nothing either way. Isn't the same as the idea of being wrong. Here's the bit I didn't expect. It wasn't really about forcing myself to bed earlier on the nights that mattered. It was about protecting the same window, night after night, even on the messy ones. That's harder than it sounds when life doesn't cooperate. Not every night lined up as cleanly as day 63 did. Some weeks, the pattern was obvious. Other weeks, I couldn't tell you which variable was doing the damage. Poor sleep, bad food, stress, all tangled together. I'm not going to pretend I've isolated this perfectly. One person, 1 year of data, doing his best to spot a pattern. Make of that what you will. What I can say with a straight face, the nights where duration and timing both lined up were consistently the mornings that I felt sharp. The nights where duration was fine but timing had drifted, day 63 being one of the clearest examples, were the mornings that didn't match the numbers on the tracker at all. 13 years of NHS blood tests, the actual numbers, the GP conversations, what changed and what didn't. If you want to follow someone who documents this properly rather than just talks about it, that's what this channel is. Subscribe if that's going to be useful to you. If I was starting this from scratch, the one thing I'd attract far earlier is bedtime consistency, not hours, bedtime. What I now know, I didn't know then, the tracker was telling me the truth about duration and lying to me by omission about everything else. So if you're testing this yourself, don't touch your total hours first. Fix the window. Same bedtime within 30 minutes or so, 7 days a week, I know, weekends included. Your liver's not checking the calendar. Give that 3 weeks before you judge anything, because a shifted clock doesn't reset in one night either way. To track it properly, log your bedtime and wake time, not just total hours. If you've already got a sleep tracker, most will show you the actual clock window. You just have to go looking for it. The headline number hides the thing that actually matters. Honestly, first week or two, nothing dramatic, possibly nothing at all. That's normal. Don't panic and abandon it. Around week 3 is where most people start noticing mornings feel more predictable. 6 weeks in is a fair point to properly compare. If you're on medication that affects sleep or you've got a diagnosed sleep condition, sleep apnea, chronic insomnia, this isn't a bedtime tweak problem, and I'm not qualified to tell you it is. That needs your GP, possibly a sleep clinic. What I'm describing here is for someone hitting reasonable hours and still not getting the payoff, which is a different problem entirely. Testing your own sleep timing, I've been logging bedtime against energy and mood for over a year now. If a simple way to track that would help, it's the kind of thing worth building into whatever tracker you're already using. Links in the description for how I do mine. And please, this is educational content only, it's not medical advice. Speak to your GP before changing your fasting pattern, diet or medication, especially if you're on diabetes or blood pressure meds.